Hi, I'm Bob Alsop with ShopSabre CNC. Around here they call me RouterBob, and today we're going to go on a RouterBob out and about trip. We're going to do a road trip to Red Wing, Minnesota to visit Engberg Construction. Let's get going. We've just arrived in Red Wing, Minnesota at Engberg Construction. We're going to sit down with Mike Engberg and hear his ShopSabre success story.
Is it weird that if I'm not looking at the camera saying, hi, I'm Mike, and I'm just looking off into space? Not that I'm a film critic, but all right, we'll just go with it. All right. Well, a little background of the business. I started Engberg Construction in 2009, and it was just myself, one guy. We were just doing normal construction stuff, remodeling, whatnot. We outsourced all the cabinetry we did then, which was a very small amount. And then in 2015, I purchased a ServiceMaster Restore franchise. And that's when things got a little more interesting. We ended up with a greater need for new cabinetry due to water damage typically. And one of the biggest hurdles we had with outsourcing our cabinetry is we didn't have the ability to plan ahead. So we were getting into a job on a Tuesday with a water loss. It floods a person's kitchen. Thursday we got to dry it out. You go to the cabinet maker on Friday and say, hey, I need a new kitchen. They're going to tell you 4 or 5 months. And the homeowners don't want to hear that. They want to say, hey, I want my kitchen back in 2 weeks. And the only way to really facilitate that was to bring it in-house. And that's when we decided that outsourcing wasn't going to work, and we needed to bring a cabinet business into our own building. We can control the quality and then really control the timelines, and that was kind of our goal when we decided to start the cabinet business. So roughly a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, I started researching what avenues to go down as far as starting a cabinet business, and I looked at how are we going to be productive, how are we going to be efficient with the least amount of guys. We're not going to be a huge outfit. We're not going to be doing 30 employees. We're looking at a 2-man operation. So I looked at the CNC world, and that seemed to be the answer, was to go CNC and go technology. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And that was kind of my thought from the start. So got online like everybody else does these days and started searching around and reading reviews and everything else. And at first you're a little bit discouraged because you're looking at machines that are over $100,000, and that's just not going to be feasible for a business of our size. So after a couple months of research, I did stumble across ShopSabre, and so I just called them up, and I was a little bit fortunate that they happened to be in my backyard. So I actually just talked to Brandon, and I drove over there and went and looked at them. And that was nice, to meet with him on site. He was real nice in helping me and kind of informing me on the CNCs. I'm not a machinist of background. I don't know machining real well, so for me it was kind of a whole new avenue, if you will. But they helped me with educating me on stuff, and I hem and hawed. I went back and I did some more research, and then a couple months later I pulled the trigger and bought a machine. And it was definitely a game changer when we were setting it up. I brought in 2 experienced guys to run the shop, and they had not been in the CNC world either, so to them it was going to be a little bit frightening, I think, but adapted very well. We had a pretty quick turnaround as far as getting things up and running. It actually went very well considering the fact that none of us knew anything about it, so that was a good thing. And now we run, the 2 guys we can stay on top of our orders. We can get them punched through quickly. The CNC is definitely the way to go. There's no doubt about it. That machine will pay for itself in no time. It is probably the most valuable employee you have. It's really amazing how well it works. When we got into those water losses and started, having that issue where we couldn't get the turnaround, now we can turn our lead times into like 2 to 3 weeks, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that the rest of the cabinet makers were months out. So that was a really good thing. So after I made the decision that we were going to purchase a CNC and that was going to be the route we were going to go, the next step was to try to figure out how we were going to set up our shop, how we wanted to basically facilitate the flow of the work. So what I was looking for is something that we could, draw the cabinets, the designs of the cabinets, the kitchen designs on a software program, easily look at that, manipulate it, change it, something we can show our customers. That people are a lot of visual people. They like to see things on paper, and that was kind of the thing we were looking for. And then we wanted something that we could really optimize our yields on our sheets, so we weren't wasting material, and something we could send out to the shop and we could cut all the parts, drill all the holes, cut the dados, and basically eliminate a lot of the labor involved with doing it, the old-fashioned way, if you will. And we were trying to cut labor hours. That was our biggest thing. And once we kind of made the decision, I ran across the software, Mosaic, and the learning curve on it was actually really quick. For a guy that doesn't do computer programs, it went really well. We were able to nest all the parts in there. It would give me my yields, what we were using, how much we're wasting. It would cut all the dados, do everything that we needed to do. And the guys could literally put the cabinets together and they couldn't screw it up. I mean, you had a perfect cabinet every time. And you can't get that accurate on a table saw. You can't do it. So that was, really the turning point to where we were able to save a lot of man hours. And, for two guys to be able to do that much work in that short period of time, you could not do without the CNC. I mean, for a small shop like we have here, we're not doing hundreds of kitchens a year, it still pays for itself. It is the most efficient way to go. All right, looking back now, at the whole process, we're about 10 months into operation now, and we probably should have done this sooner, rather than later. It was a little apprehensive on jumping into it and trying to figure out how we're going to operate the CNC, and there was some, little concern on how well it was going to go, and it went really well. And I tell you what, we had a few times I had questions or couldn't figure something out. I get on the phone, call ShopSabre, and there wasn't one issue I had that we couldn't resolve on the phone within 15 minutes. And 95% of them were human error. It was just a fact that we didn't really know what we were doing yet, but they were able to answer our questions quickly and get us back up and running. And it really worked well. It's the amount of material you save is unreal. I mean, I don't think we've thrown a piece of plywood away that was bigger than a foot by a foot. I mean, and our shop's not, plumb full of scrap. We have a small pile of scrap that we can put back into the program and sheet optimize it and use that scrap up. And the amount of material we save is just incredible. I mean, compared to the guys that are working in the shop and doing this for 30 years, said the amount of scrap we used to have is just phenomenal. We'd throw dumpsters away, and material savings alone is just incredible. And as far as being able to cut out an entire kitchen in a matter of 4 to 5 hours would have taken 2 guys 2 days, doing it the old way. And the time savings is incredible. It's perfectly accurate. There's no issues whatsoever. Everything goes together, and it's been a good experience from the start. So I knew that the machine and all the software we had was going to really help us on the back end of the business and really cutting down time and making things fit together nicely. And it actually exceeded my expectations on the time savings we had and how well things went together. I mean, you cannot put together the cabinet wrong. It only goes together one way. And and that was kind of a nice surprise, I guess, if you will, that you really can't screw it up. Looking back on it, I wish we would have done it sooner. If you're hesitant about looking at doing the CNC world, don't be. The ShopSabre has been great. The support is great. Everything about it's been a good experience.
Mike, thanks for letting us come in. You have such a great story here at this company.
Hey, appreciate you coming up and checking it out.
I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, you can contact us at shopsabre.com. Thank you for watching.